In 2008, I was a second grade bilingual teacher about to tie the knot with my best friend. And about approximately 2 months before I walked down the aisle, I noticed that I had a swollen lymph node above my clavicle. Aside from it being unsightly, I didn't have any symptoms whatsoever. So we were just so excited to spend the rest of our lives together. So there was really no cause for concern. So I started on some antibiotics, and we noticed that just would not go away. So we waited and waited, and about 2 weeks before we walked down the aisle, I decided I needed to go in and get some testing done just to put my mind at ease. I went in and I had a fine needle biopsy and blood work done, and at this point the results were fairly inconclusive. They decided that it was okay to go ahead, tie the knot, have our honeymoon, and we would figure everything out when we got back. So we had an amazing wedding and honeymoon, and when I got back, I went in and had my lymph node removed and biopsied. And I think at this point, I was in denial. I still had blinders on. I didn't expect any sort of negative outcome. So when I came out of the procedure, I was shocked, horrified, and numb to find out that I had Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I think the hardest part was seeing my husband's face at that moment. We just didn't expect this to ever happen. I was 28, I was a newlywed. Why would I ever imagine that something like this could ever happen? So I went from being a newlywed to having cancer. We went from planning our new lives together to planning my cancer journey. And it was a very scary and intimidating process. So I found my oncologist, and we started our cancer plan. I went through 12 rounds of chemo over a 6-month period. I went in every other week, and by the time I started feeling normal again, I knew it was time to go in for another treatment. I went into Methodist, and I would go in and receive chemo during the day, and then I would take my IV drip home, and then I would return the next day. And I felt like Methodist was my home away from home. And it was hard. I lost my hair, my eyelashes, and every single eyebrow. I lost my eyebrows and every single eyelash. It was scary, and it was very hard. Having my parents take me to treatments when a parent should never have to take their child to cancer treatment was hard. Having my new husband come home early from work and make sure that my IV wasn't tangled, make sure that I took all my medicine, and rubbing my back when I was at my lowest, when we should have been cherishing and celebrating every single moment of our new lives together, was hard. But I had amazing family and friends to pick me up when I was down. I had an amazing village. But there was one thing that was missing. I didn't know anyone my age that had been through cancer. I didn't know anyone my age who had lost their hair due to chemo treatments. I didn't have that one person who had walked in my shoes, who I could call when my drain was filled with hair, when I just didn't think that I could make it to another chemo treatment. I did not have CanCare. And I didn't find out about CanCare until about 2 years after I finished my treatments. And it was an aha moment. It was, yes, of course this exists. If only I had known about it when I was going through my treatments. So I immediately picked up the phone and called them, and I have now been a volunteer for over 4 years. And it has been life-changing. I now feel like I can help those that are suffering and that feel like they don't have anyone to turn to. CanCare believes that no one that is diagnosed with cancer should ever suffer alone. And I had cancer, yes, but now I can celebrate the fact that through CanCare, I can make sure that someone who is diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma does not have to go it alone. I will hold their hand, and I will help them through their cancer journey.